Hello everyone, what's up? It's me again, Youngmaster3, and what do you know, it's finally time for yet another update video. I know I'm also going to make the top 5 of the month for the month of September, but I just figured there's lots of movies just lying around that I have forgotten to show you, so I just thought for myself why I shouldn't do this. I mean, I should do this video first before I do any of the other videos, because after a while just the piles are stacking up and I just need to put them in the shelf. So but anyway, like usual, when it comes to update videos, I'm going to start with the VHS tapes. Then I'm going to go through the non-horror DVDs, and then the horror DVDs, and then the Blu-rays. I think the Blu-rays are in random order, but you probably get what I mean at this point if you've seen any of my previous videos. So yeah, so let's continue. Not continue, but let's start with the VHS tapes. First up, we have a film called King of the City. Now this is actually, I think that's just the alternative title, because I believe the original title is Club Life, I believe. And this is from 1985 or 1986, I believe. This is one of those films that is it's so 80s that it's just so glorious and so fun. It's sort of like a sad film, but at the same time they have some really funny parts in it. But it's basically about this guy who starts to work as a I think it was some sort of bouncer, and there's this other guy that's worked there for quite a while and kind of teaches him how to deal with dangerous people, and then it just gets worse and worse. And yeah, it's a pretty sad story in the end, actually. But yeah, this one, Club Life, which is the original title, this one really needs a DVD or Blu-ray release, because I mean I can't see the reason why they wouldn't release this. Maybe it's something about the music. Usually that's the case when it comes to films that are stuck on VHS. It's something about the rights to the music and whatnot. I think that was the major issue with the BMX movie Rad before it got released on DVD and Blu-ray, because that was stuck on VHS forever as well, even though people really wanted a DVD and Blu-ray release. But this one, if you like your 80s films, go check this one out. Not really sure how easy it is to come across on VHS these days, but please, some company, 88 Films, Vinegar Syndrome, Arrow, whatever, I mean some company, please release this on Blu-ray or DVD. So yeah. Then we have yet another VHS tape, which is, I mean, this is a very strange, I don't really know what to call it. It says it's a thriller, but at the same time it's sort of like a slasher film, and it also has lots of comedy in it. This is such a strange film. But this film is called Moving Target, which is not really a very clever title, because I believe there's at least 3 films or 4 films with that exact same title. But this one is from the late 80s or early 90s. And apparently this is directed by, let's see, it's directed by a guy called Marius Mattei. And for some weird reason I suspect either that's probably Bruno Mattei under some sort of weird pseudonym, or maybe it's just a relative of his. That's just my assumption. But this one has Ernest Borgnine and Linda Blair in it, so do with that what you will. They don't really, I think they didn't really have any bigger roles in this film, but this film is so extremely strange that it's actually really fun to watch. I mean, it's a mess of a film. It's not the greatest or anything like that, but yeah, it's still fun for what it is. So yeah, Moving Target. And the last VHS tape for this time around, usually when I think I've told you this before, but usually when I pick up movies on VHS, it's usually because these films were never really released on DVD or Blu-ray. That's really the main reason why I picked them up on VHS. So so whenever I make these videos, I just kind of urge to these companies to please release this on DVD or Blu-ray. But this is the film called Think Big, with these two. I'm not sure if they were just called the Barbarian Brothers. I'm not really sure that was their proper nickname or whatever. But they were also in another film called Double Trouble, which I thought was really fun as well. And Twin Sitters is another one that was really fun. There is another one which is called the Barbarians or something, which is directed by Ruggero Deodato, which I have on DVD, but I haven't seen it yet. But all these 3 films that I've mentioned before, they are really fun, and especially this one is also really fun as well. Even though I'm not sure if it was the Twin Sitters or Double Trouble. I think it was the Twin Sitters that I liked the most. But yeah, Think Big, this is a really fun film, so yeah. So yeah, that's it for the VHS tapes. Now let's continue with the DVDs, non-horror titles, whatever. First up we have Stanley Kubrick's Fear and Desire, which was his very first film. Apparently he dismissed this film because he wasn't really pleased with the end result. I would say this is one of his weaker films in general, but this is still interesting for what it is, and this was such a hard time to try to get a hold of this film. I got it for a really good price. Usually this goes for stupid money, so I was really glad to have found this for a really good price. So yeah, there you go. Then we have a Hong Kong production type film called 2000 AD. I have no idea what this is about. Maybe it's like some sort of like weird action sci-fi film. Not really sure why I thought it was like a sci-fi film for sure, but yeah, whatever. Then we have a Studio Ghibli film. I have no idea what the original title for this one is, because this is only the Swedish title on the front cover, but Arrietty, I believe. I think that's like the English title of the film, because I don't really want to pronounce the Japanese title. Karegurashi no Arrietty. Probably butchered that title, but yeah, whatever. Then we have another Studio Ghibli film called Whisper of the Heart. So yeah, really got more and more into those animated films in general. Then we have this one, which I've heard some bad things about this one, but I mean, I'm a big fan of the first one, and this might be a schlocky type of adventure film. The Son of Kong. And for some weird reason, it's like a albino gorilla or something. It looks really stupid and really weird, but yeah, whatever. And when was this made? I think it was made in 19... Apparently, I think this was only released like 2 or 3 years after the first one, so yeah, that's interesting. Then we have this one. Mainly I picked this one up because it had that, you know, the retro one that I collect, but this is the film called Django 2. Apparently this is the only official sequel to the original Django from the 60s, because there were like tons and tons of like these films that wanted to capitalize on the name Django, and they made so many of those. Never seen this one before. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the first original Django film, because I mean that's probably one of my favorite Western films of all time, to be honest. But had never heard about this one before. After, I mean, since these guys released this on DVD, I had never heard about this one before. But apparently this was made in the 80s, which is really strange, because it's like it's 20 years later, which is really crazy. So yeah. Then we have a film with Tom Hanks and Liv Tyler, by the looks of it, yeah. And this is the film called The Thing You Do. The Thing You Do. Some sort of like feel-good comedy, I feel like. So that's just what I get from this, like everything I've read about it. So yeah. Then we have 2 more Western films. The first one in this one is the film called The Jewel at Silver Creek. This is from the 50s, I believe. 1952, yeah. So yeah, really like that cover art. Then we have a newer Western film. This is modern Western, you can say. This is by Ty West. Ty West is like a director that is like kind of like very much 50-50 for me. Sometimes I really enjoy his films, and sometimes I just despise them. But this is the film called In a Valley of Violence. So yeah, with Ethan Hawke and John Travolta. Then we have a film which I've heard really stupid things about, but once again I kind of collect that label, the replay label or whatever. And this is the film called Space Fury, with what's that guy's name? Michael Paré. I can never pronounce his name, but yeah, some sort of like late 90s sci-fi schlock, so could be fun. Then we have a 90s thriller film, I believe, called The Grifters. Yeah, with Angelica Houston, John Cusack, and Annette Bening. Yeah. Then we have this film. This film I really enjoyed. It was very hard, sort of like a heartfelt. You get what I mean. Just the Way You Are. I thought this was really charming and really fun. So kind of sad in certain ways as well, but yeah, really fun. So yeah, feel good film. Then we have this one. I have yet to get the latest one, and I think it was the 5th one that I have yet to get. But Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. Watched this in the cinemas, and I thought it was whatever. I mean, it's still kind of good, but yeah, it is what it is at this point. So yeah. So let's continue with the next stack. The first one in this stack is the film called Watching the Detectives, which is yet another really fun and charming little film. I think the main reason why I like this so much is because Cillian Murphy, I have no idea how to pronounce his name still, I think it's Cillian Murphy. He's working in this like sort of like a movie renting store, and I think that's also the reason why I liked it so much. I've heard similar things about that film called Clerks, which is supposed to be also like a film that takes place in a video store. Need to look that one up eventually, but this one is really fun and like a charming, heartfelt. Can't say that word, damn it, I'm just gonna leave it at that. Watching the Detectives, really fun film. Then we have yet another really Yeah, this is also a really good film. Once again, it's the replay release right there. Undercover Angel. Really interesting, like drama, family drama, comedy type film. Really, really enjoyed this one. So I don't really hear anyone talk about this one, and I think it's really fun and really charming. So yeah, Undercover Angel. Then we have I believe this is Australian, yeah, Australian film. I'm not sure, but I've read somewhere that this is like based on true events. If that's true or not, I have no idea. But apparently, it's directed by the same guy who directed the film Snowtown, or the Snowtown Murders, if you want to call it that. But Nitram, which you can probably tell is Martin in the reverse. So yeah. And then we have a film which I'd never had in my collection before, surprisingly. I actually just it's only the first two that I really care about. The third one I didn't care about at all, and the fourth one I haven't even seen. So yeah, the original Toy Story. Yeah, whatever. It's a good film. Then we have some more anime stuff. This is the animated series of Devil May Cry, which I think is based on like the video games or whatever. I've never played the video games myself, so I'm not really sure how true this is to the original source material. But yeah, looks pretty cool. So yeah. Then we have, let's see here, what's that? Right here. This was like sent in as a bonus to me when I ordered like a film or something. The Equalizer 2. I don't even have the first one. I do remember I really appreciated the first one, but I've heard some really terrible things about the second one. But yeah, whatever. Might watch it eventually. Then we have this film. I mean, when I saw this for sale, I was just for myself, I really need to get this because this is a film that I've been hunting for quite a while. And it's the film called Disorganized Crime with Lou Diamond Phillips right there, I believe, yeah. Some sort of like action comedy film from the late 80s, so yeah, just had to get that. Then we have this one. I know for a fact that this film has like is it Vinegar Syndrome or some other company? I don't really remember if it's the Vinegar Syndrome that released this on Blu-ray, but I wasn't able to get the Blu-ray, and I believe that's probably out of print at this point. But this film is really, really entertaining and really fun. It's sort of like a gang film or whatever from the 80s, and it's a film called 315, The Moment of Truth. The Moment of Truth. I had this on VHS before. I wasn't even aware that this had been released on DVD before, but this is like a weird Dutch release. I'm not really even sure if this is actually like a legitimate release. Let's have a look at the disc. Sometimes you can see that if it's actually legitimate release. I'm really surprised by that. But yeah, 315 if you like your gang action type films from the 80s, go check this one out. So yeah. Then this one I got for a really good price. Usually this goes for stupid money online, but I got it for, yeah, once again a really good price, or decent price at that at best. And what's the original title of this film? Goddammit, Blink. Yeah. This is a thriller from the 90s. Usually when I talk about thrillers in general, I usually say that the 90s were just filled with really great thrillers. Then the 2000s came and they just were lacking quality in my personal opinion. But there's still some really good thrillers out there from the 2000s and onwards. But the 90s was just a special type of decade for thrillers in general. So yeah, Blink. Then we have a film called, let's see what this is called in English, Postcards from the Edge. Late 90s, not late 90s, early 90s film. Once again, a comedy film, never seen before, but it has Meryl Streep in it and Dennis Quaid and Shirley MacLaine, so yeah. Apparently, I believe this is like written by, was this like written by, oh, it's actually based on a novel by Carrie Fisher, surprisingly, so yeah. Then we have yet another, like, this is like a drama film, I believe, or adventure film called Wind. Francis Ford Coppola presents. He's not the director of this, I believe, but yeah, whatever. Wind. Then we have this film. I thought this was very strange when I found out who was the director of this, because this is directed by Brian De Palma, who is usually known for his like sort of like crime thrillers type films, or like horror themed films in general, like mystery films. He directed a film in the mid-80s called Wise Guys, which does not feel like a Brian De Palma film at all. This is sort of like a goofball type, not goofball type comedy, but it's like sort of like a buddy cop film, but they are not cops really. They're like these two like mafioso, like mafia guys working for the mafia, and they're like stealing their credit cards and whatnot, and then their mafia is after them and whatnot. It's pretty fun for what it is, but yeah, it's still good. Then we have this film. This film, my god, this one really broke me. This is one of the only films that I've actually, I mean, I started I started crying at towards the end of this film, not gonna lie. And that's very, very unusual. The only other two films that I come think of that have made me cry is like It's a Wonderful Life and Return of the King, I believe. So yeah, and this is the film called My Life. I'm not going to say anything about the film because I don't want to spoil it for you. But if you haven't seen this film and you like drama films in general, go check this one out. It's a really great film. And once again, Michael Keaton is following us because he's in the next film as well, and it's the film called Speechless. Of course, not as good as My Life, but still a really funny, quirky little comedy film. It's basically about Michael Keaton and Gina Davis's characters. They are like those people that write the speeches for these like president candidates, and they're of course they're on the opposites of one another. So I believe Michael Keaton is like a Republican, and Gina Davis is like a Democrat in this, and there's some really fun sequences from every now and then. So yeah, Speechless. Then we have a film called Big Business, which is it's pretty good, but it's like it feels like let's how long is this film? 94 minutes. There's some jokes that really work, and there's some jokes that just doesn't work. It's sort of like a 50-50 type film. In general, it's a good film, but it's like a little bit too much for my liking. But yeah, Big Business. Now the next film I was really disappointed on. This is quite sort of like a standalone sequel, I believe, to the film called The Net, and this is the Net 2.0. The first one with Sandra Bullock is actually really fun. If you just ignore the fact that it's sort of dated when it comes to technology, the first one is actually really, really entertaining. This one is so forgettable, and the editing is just absolutely horrendous, and nothing in the storyline makes any sense at all. Yeah, skip this one. So we're ready for the next stack right here. The first one in this stack is the film called Foxes with Jodie Foster. I remember watching this once and thinking it was like sort of decent, but yeah, whatever. It's still good for what it is, if I remember correctly. So yeah, Foxes. And then we have a film with and by Clint Eastwood, which I didn't have in the collection before, and apparently this is more like a drama, romance type film. I heard some really good things about it though. So The Bridges of Madison County. Yeah, once again with Meryl Streep. So yeah. Then we have this one. This one, I mean, I just read a little bit about this film, and I was just thinking, well, I need to get this film in my collection now. And the film is called Joe's Apartment. Apparently with a bunch of like cockroaches, I believe, like singing and dancing right there on the bottom right there, and you can see right here on the back that they're like dancing or something. I just thought that looked absolutely ridiculous. I thought, well, I need to get that. It looks like some really fun trash. So yeah, Joe's Apartment. Then we have this one, which I could have swore was directed by Roger Corman, but it's actually produced by Roger Corman. I'm not really surprised by that. And the film is called Big Bad Mama. And apparently this also has a sequel, which came out like 10 years after this one or something. Never seen this one before, but I always get this confused with that other film called... I think it was another Roger Corman production. I just kind of like... Yeah, I just forgot about what it was called now, but yeah, Big Bad Mama. I'm not really sure. I think might be inspired by true events or something, but yeah, whatever. Do with that what you will. I'm probably wrong on that, so yeah. Then we have a drama film from the early 80s called Naked Campus. Just that title makes it sound like an adult film, which it's not. Yeah, sort of like I believe this is sort of like a weird coming of age type film, if I remember correctly, or like what I've read about it. So yeah. Then we have this one. I've always wanted to see this one, but it's pretty tricky to get a hold of. But yeah, finally found it. And I remember I really, really appreciated the first film. So that's another reason why I decided to try to get this one. So it's The Weekend at Bernie's 2. If you've never seen the first one, give that one a shot. It's really hilarious and really funny. Not heard too many good things about this one. I mean, in comparison to the first one, that is, but still willing to give it a shot. So yeah, Weekend at Bernie's 2. And then we have this one, which I could have swore, I mean, just based on the title, I just assumed that this was some sort of like horror film, but it's a very long title as well. The title is not very good at all. The title is The Positively True Adventures of the Alleged Texas Cheerleader Murdering Mom. Damn, that's a stupid title. Apparently this is like a weird, like, made-for-TV film, but why would you have such a long title for your film? Yeah, whatever. Then we have these two films. I'm currently still looking for 2 more films, I believe, in this series. I have, the only one I have missing is let's see, it's Ernest Rides Again and the Slam Dunk Ernest. I think those are the only 2 like Ernest films I have missing. So, but these are the 2 Ernest films: Ernest Goes to School and Ernest in the Army, which was the very last one he appeared in. I believe he was actually really sick when he made this one, so that, yeah, that's very unfortunate. But yeah, still looking for those 2 in the collection, but it just seems like they're absolutely almost impossible to get a hold of these days. But I'm still gonna try to find them eventually, so yeah. Let's continue. Now we're off to the horror titles, like the horror DVD titles. First up one in this stack is the film called The Cavern, which came out around the same time as The Cave and The Descent. This one I've never seen before, but I have a soft spot for some of those like cave horror films, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm just gonna assume probably this is probably gonna be bad, because sometimes when a film does really well when it's released, usually like some other guy just tries to like cash in on that like craze or whatever. So maybe that's the reason why this was released almost simultaneously as some of those other ones. So, but anyway, I mean, still gonna give it a shot. So yeah, The Cavern. And I've always really liked this cover art when I've seen it floating around. So yeah, The Cavern. Then we have this film, which I think is a very unique idea. Apparently this is like based on true events, which is really, really strange. And this is the film by Stuart Gordon called Stuck. I'm not going to say anything about what this film is about. I'm going to leave that for your imagination, but it's a strange film. It's sort of like sad, but at the same time it has such a strange like comedy vibe to it as well, which is just like, how could you put that in that situation? Yeah, I'm not going to say anything else, but yeah, whatever. Then we have a sequel, which I believe was like a I believe this was like a TV miniseries in a way, but it's still like a sequel to an older film. But Firestarter 2, Rekindled. I'm not the hugest fan of the original one from the 80s. I think it's a decent film, but I don't think it's like absolutely amazing or anything like that. I've not heard anyone talk about this one, so I'm gonna go into this with an open mind. And sometimes that's the best way, just to not read up about the films before you watch them. So just to give your own opinion about them eventually. So yeah. And then we have a film called Seven Mummies. This is probably some low budget trash. This has Danny Trejo in it, I believe. Some mid-2000s garbage probably. So yeah, there's some really weird creature there on the back. I'm not sure if you can see that right there, but yeah, whatever. Then we have a 90s made-for-TV horror film called Legacy of Evil, right there. Pretty stupid cover art, but at the same time kind of effective in my personal opinion. But yeah, whatever. Then we have a film called Contagion, which is not the Contagion from a couple of years ago, I believe. This is the one from the 80s, and apparently this is like an Australian type of slasher film. This is one of those slasher films that I've never seen before. I'm just hoping that this doesn't have very, very thick accents to it, because sometimes I have a hard time trying to figure out what they're saying when they have really, really thick Australian accents, depending on what part of the country they're from. So yeah, but anyway, Contagion. So yeah. Then we have this one. This one sounds absolutely berserk and absolutely bonkers, so that's the reason why I picked it up. And it's the film called Karaoke Terror. Japanese one right there. And this is released by Synapse Films as well. Looks pretty bloody, like crazy there on the back as well, so yeah. Then we have a film called The Dark Room, which should not be confused with The Dark Room from the 80s. This is from like the mid-2000s, I believe. It says it's a thriller, but I mean, ended up in this. I mean, it does look more like a horror film if you ask me. If you just look at the back right there, it looks more like a horror film than a thriller film, in my personal opinion. But yeah, The Dark Room. Then we have a film called Penny Dreadful, right there. And I believe there's been like 2 or 3 other titles with the exact same title, but this is from 2005 according to the back of this DVD. But Rachel Miner and Mimi Rogers in this one, so yeah. Then we have this one. I have seen this one before. I thought it was decent. I mean, I wanted to get it just to complete that trilogy of films or whatever. I have seen the original one like long time ago as well. I do prefer the original one out of all of them, to be honest, but I Spit in Your Grave 3. I remember I mean, the original one is the best one in my personal opinion. The remake is like, whatever. The second one is decent, and this one is also pretty decent. There's another one called like I Spit in Your Grave, Deja Vu, which I've only heard absolutely terrible things about. I know you shouldn't really be affected by what other people say, but that film is like over 2 hours long, and it's like, I think it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes. I'm like, you don't make a film like that into more than 2 hours. That's just insane in my personal opinion. And since most people have said that it's absolutely garbage, I am not gonna bother to even look that one up. But this one is still decent. I mean, I actually do like this one and the second one more than the remake or whatever. So yeah, whatever. I Spit in Your Grave 3. Then we have a film called The Conspiracy. Apparently this is like some sort of... I've heard this is some sort of like... found footage type film. Could be totally wrong, I'm not really sure, but sort of like a blind buy, but it looked quite interesting, so yeah. Now this one I think is found footage, I'm not really sure. Hacked, right there. Looks pretty interesting, so yeah, there you go. Now this one is actually, this is probably not even a horror film, but yeah, for some reason it ended up in this section of the video because it's like released by Mondo Macabro, so probably that's the reason why. The Warrior, some weird Indonesian action schlock film. I mean, just based on the back of this, there's like this guy right here who looks like he's really trying to resemble Rambo. Let's see, when was this released? You know what? This was released in 1981, which was 1 year prior to the first Rambo film. Maybe Rambo ripped this one off. Probably not, but yeah, I just thought that was a fun joke. Now this one I've also heard really terrible things about. This is like a remake of an older 60s film, which I am a big fan of. This is Carnival of Souls from the 90s. Heard some really bad things about this one, but I thought for myself, I want to see how bad it is, basically. So yeah, Carnival of Souls. If you've never seen the original one, give that one a watch. It's a very atmospheric one. Then we have, I believe this is yet another Indonesian film. It says Indonesian and South Korean, so maybe it's like a co-production, but this is the film called Satan's Slaves from 2017, according to the back of this particular DVD, so yeah. Then we have a Venezuelan film. Lots of very strange countries popping up in this update when it comes to the horror films right here. This is the film called The House at the End of Time. It looks quite shitty on the front cover. It looks like a typical like ghost film. I'm kind of sick and tired of ghost films in general, but it was probably just the fact that it was made in Venezuela. I think that's probably the reason why I picked it up in the first place, because I don't think I've ever seen a Venezuelan like horror film before, so I think that was probably the main reason, so yeah. Then we have a Japanese horror film called Shock Labyrinth 3D, which is directed by Takashi Shimizu, who directed the, probably most famous for directing the Grudge films, both the original and remake, and the like TV movie that all of those were based on, like Ju-on, whatever. But I've actually heard some bad things about this one, but I mean the plot sounds actually quite fascinating, so yeah, could be fun. So yeah, Shock Labyrinth 3D. So let's see here. Then we have the next stack right over here. First up one in this stack is Dawn of the Mummy from the early 80s. Once again, a film that I've heard mixed feelings about. I'm not sure if this particular release is uncut or not, because I've heard like numerous of different things about this one, like, oh, this is all cutting out all the gore, and someone said like, no, it's a complete uncut version. So I'm not sure which one I'm gonna believe in that, but I do love some of those older Anchor Bay releases, so yeah, couldn't pass on that one. Then we have a film directed by the guy who directed the one of my favorite Vincent Price films, the Witchfinder General, which I think recently got like a Blu-ray from 88 Films. I have the really old Anchor Bay release from that, so not really sure if I'm going to upgrade that or not. I mean, I sort of feel like upgrading a film is, I mean, it feels like you're kind of wasting your money on that, unless you're like a die-hard fan of the film and you just really need to have a new release with like tons and tons of special features. But this one is the film by him called The Sorcerers, right there with Boris Karloff. I believe this is one of the last Boris Karloff films that he ever appeared in, so yeah. Boris Karloff, you get what I mean. Boris Karloff's one of his last films, that's what I want to say. Then we have, I'm probably gonna have to censor this because you probably know already that this is gonna be a Yes Franco film. Vampiros Lesbos. Yeah, probably some really weird sleaze. I've actually listened to the soundtrack to that film before, and the soundtrack is really, really good, so yeah. Now we have this film. My god, I was looking for this film for ages, and I finally found it. This is such a fun and entertaining, like, zombie splatter vampire type film. And this is the film called Darkness. Darkness is not really a good title for this film because I think there's at least 3 or 4 other titles like that. But this is directed by Leif Jonker, and this is from 1993, I believe. If you've never seen this one, if you like blood or like splatter effects and whatnot, give this one a watch. This is such a fun film. So yeah, Darkness. Then we have a film from the mid-2000s, some low-budget schlock probably. A film called Skin Crawl, right there. Released by the Shokorama Cinema label. And then we have a film. This is so strange because it says it's like written by horror master John Carpenter. I'm not really sure if that's true or not because this doesn't really come across like something that John Carpenter would like associate himself with. But Silent Predators. Yeah, there. And then we have a film which is probably more of a thriller film or like serial killer film because it says here on the front like the tagline or whatever. To catch a serial killer is to know him, feel him, anticipate him. And the film is called Spreading Ground with Dennis Hopper. Yeah. Then we have a film called The Train, or is Train, really sure. And there's like a really strange thing here in the front. Buy any 2 titles with this sticker and claim your free exclusive Saw 6 print. Probably not, you're probably not going to be able to do that anymore, so yeah. Then we have a film called Truth or Dare. I'm not really sure what year. 2011 or 2012, I believe. This is a British film, I believe. I think there's another one which came out like in 2019, 18 or something. Not heard anything about this one. Kind of a blind buy. Got it for a really good price. I mean, it was very cheap as well, so yeah. Then we have a film called Mexican Werewolf. Yeah. Could be fun. Then we have this one. This is actually like a remake of an older film by Roger Corman. And the original one had Vincent Price in it. Apparently there's yet another film which has the exact same title that it came out the exact same year, which is very strange. But this is the film called The Mask of the Red Death, and this is directed by Larry Brand, I believe. So if you want to know about, I mean, if you just look at the front cover, you know which one of those are picked up basically. But yeah, we'll see if I find that other one from the same year. But yeah. Then we have a film with Bela Lugosi called The Return of the Vampire. Yeah, probably there's some like standalone sequel to the original Dracula film, or like the one with Bela Lugosi, that is. Then we have a film with Boris Karloff and Christopher Lee in it called The Curse of the Crimson Altar. Right there. Yeah. Then we have some more oldies right here. This is, I believe this is a British film called The Night of the Eagle. Yeah, black and white film. And then we have, I'm not sure if I had this one before. I probably already had this one, but I really like the front cover, so that's the reason I probably picked it up again. But once again, Christopher Lee, and this one also has Vincent Price, and it's the film called The Oblong Box. Right there, so yeah. Then we have yet another one with Bela Lugosi. I have seen this one before, and it's actually pretty fun. Let's see here. In color, oh no. Includes restored original black and white version. Oh, thank you. I always despise when they like have black and white films and they just have like a colored version that they've like made like after like years. I'm like, come on, leave it as it is, leave it as it was supposed to be. And it's the film called The Devil Bat, right there. So yeah, did I already show this or not? I'm not sure. I just blacked it out right there. Then we have the film called Asylum. This is from the like 2007. I thought this was decent. Then again, I was kind of sleepy when I watched this. So I probably need to rewatch it. But yeah, it was decent for what it was, if I remember correctly. So yeah. Then we have this actually a film that I already had before, but I believe, my God, my phone is ringing right now. Can't take that. So now I lost track. Damn it. Well, anyway, this is a film I already had before, but I'm not really sure which version I had because this includes both the unrated and the R-rated versions. So Jason Goes to Hell, probably the weakest one in the series, to be honest, like at least one of the weaker ones. But I'm not sure which version I've watched before, so that could be interesting if I like make like a marathon video of this, like watching any of these films before if I watch this again. That's what I want to say. So yeah. Then we have a film which I was very disappointed on called Grace. Premise sounded very interesting and really fun, but it's such a very forgettable film. I mean, it's kind of lackluster, kind of boring in my personal opinion, but yeah, whatever. Grace. So finally we've come to the Blu-ray section of this video. I actually thought they were like I was like separating the horrors from the other titles, but apparently I didn't, so do with that what you will. So let's start with this pile right here. This is the film released by Saturn's Core called Shatter Dead. Shot on video horror film from the mid-90s, so yeah. Let's see here, I need to move these away right here if I can do that. Let's see here, then we have a film called Charlie's Farm, which is some sort of slasher film. That's really the only reason why I picked it up. Could be bad, could be good. It has Tara Reid, Nathan Jones, Bill Moseley, and Kane Hodder in it. So yeah. Then we have this one. I have seen this one before, and I remember being decent enough. I mean, it was okay, but yeah, whatever. This is the film called Brotherhood of Satan, right there, released by Arrow. Then we have the film called Massage Parlor Murders, some sort of like 70s exploitation type film, I believe. Is it 70s? Or it has to be 70s, right? It doesn't say on the back, so yeah, whatever. Then we have a biker film called Ride the Hot Wind, and I believe this one is from the 70s as well. Yeah, 71, so yeah, there you go. Then we have the film called Who Killed Teddy Bear? Very weird title. Probably more of a thriller or like a drama film, but looks very tense and fun. So yeah. Then we have the film called The Halfway House, right there. Early 2000s monster film. Then we have this one, which I have seen before. I think this is kind of like an underrated slasher film in general, and it's the film called Rush Week from the late 80s, 89. Yeah, Rush Week. And we have some more Vinegar Syndrome titles right here. I'm not really sure which front cover I'm going to show you because I actually like both of these covers. Well, let's just settle with that one then. Hell Riders, right there. The other one, I might as well show you the back of this one as well. Yeah, right there. I like both of those covers, so yeah. Then we have the okay, I can't show you the back because there's nudity on that one. Okay, so the this one is called the Dr. Jekyll's Dungeon of Death, right there. Slipcover. I'm not too crazy about like slipcovers in general. I know some collectors are like, oh, I really need a slipcover. I mean, it's really, in the end, it's really about the films themselves. I just don't really understand the reasoning why some people are like willing to pay like so much money for just the slipcover alone. Like, come on. But this is a film that I have seen before, and it's really fun and really entertaining. This feels more like an 80s film than a 90s film in my personal opinion, but this is the film called LA Wars, right there, and that's how it looks like on the back. And then we have some Japanese stuff. This one is called Love and Other Cults, right there. Really fun looking cover art. And then we have a film which I believe is directed by Sion Sono. Yes, it is. And this film is called Love and Peace. Right there, so yeah. So that's it for that stack. Now I believe we're on to the last stack, I believe. Yeah, whatever. The next one in this stack is a film called Silent Running. Some sort of sci-fi film which I've not seen before. This is from the 70s, yeah, 72, so yeah. Let's move these away a little bit. Then we have this one. This one is such a fun film. This was actually a film that was like, it wasn't completed until like just a couple of years ago, because it was like someone found like the film rolls, like the film elements, or like whatever you want to call it, in like some back alley or something, and then they completed it. And it's the film called New York Ninja. Really fun film. Not as good as Commando Ninja though, but still a really fun film for what it is. It has like a weird Godfrey Ho vibe to it as well, which is really fun. Then we have the collection, the Stray Cat Rock collection right there, with films such as Delinquent, Girl Boss, Wild Jumbo, Sex Hunter, Machine Animal, and Beat 21, I believe it's called. Yeah, I think I might have had one or two of these before, but I didn't have the rest, so that's the reason why I picked this one up. So yeah, I actually expected like a box set, but apparently this I just shoved onto like one disc, I believe. So yeah, whatever. Then we have this one. This is actually a horror film, or like a slasher film that I've never seen before. This is one of the few horror like slasher films from the 80s that I had not seen before, and it's the film called Torment. Unfortunately, this was the only release I could find, because usually you can like have like reverse cover art, so you don't need to deal with the German title right there, and you don't need to deal with this stupid logo right here. But that was not the case for this particular release. So, but I'm just glad I had the film itself. So yeah, Torment. Let's just go. Is it called Torment or I think it's Torment. So yeah. Then we have the film called The House That Screamed, which I believe was the very first colored Spanish horror film, if I'm not completely wrong. But yeah, The House That Screamed. And then we have this one. I was surprised as how big this one was. Apparently this has 3 different versions of the film. And this is an Italian film called Mill of the Stone Women. Right there. And this is quite thick, if you can see right there. I mean, this is what I expected from like that Stray Cat box set, or not box set, but those other films. But yeah, really like the front cover as well. So yeah. Then the last one. You know what? I already had these on DVD, but I wasn't sure if those were uncut or not. So that's really the main reason why I picked this one up. But it's the Female Prisoner Scorpion, the complete collection, right there. And this one looks really cool. I think probably most of you have already seen this box set by now, because it's been out for quite a while. But yeah, some women in prison type films. So yeah, films I should say. So yeah, in plural. So I believe that was all of the films that I had to show you, or like that I've forgotten to show you before. Now I've been almost mumbling for 45 minutes. I'm gonna try to prioritize the top 5 of the month for the month of September video, and right after that I'm gonna get on to the horror reviews, because I'm gonna try to at least release 1 horror review video for each week. That's what I'm gonna prioritize after the next video. So, but anyway, keep your eyes open for that, and yeah, see you next time. Bye bye.